Today we're joined by Altrincham Manager Phil Parkinson. We're just a couple of days into the new year, and the Robins started off 2023 with a 2-2 draw against FC Halifax Town on New Year's Day. First of all, Phil, it looked 1:30, 2 o'clock as if the game probably wouldn't go ahead at one point.
Yeah, it was massively in doubt. Myself and Chris conversed with the referee at length, probably to the detriment of our preparation, to be honest, because it looked like it was never going to be played. And then, fortunately, we came to the correct decision in terms of both sets of managers wanted to play the game. The referee wanted to give it a go. He deemed it safe, and that was the all-important bit of information that I needed. It wasn't like it would be a big journey for us to come back again on a Tuesday night, but it was definitely playable there. And I also had one eye on it's nearly rugby season in Halifax, so you want to get on it before the rugby boys get on that pitch as well. So fortunately enough, it was the right decision. The pitch held up and it was a good game.
I think it was the right decision, but a bit of a downpour, and it wouldn't have taken too much to see the match abandoned.
No, I think if you would have chucked a jug of water on there, we might have been off. It was that touch and go. So, like I said, fortunately enough, it was just about playable. It was sticky in patches, and maybe another referee calls it off. But listen, it was a good spectacle. Two teams really going for the win, and I think anybody who came that game certainly got value for money.
We got the bonus of the opening goal, and it was a bonus because it was a bad goal for Halifax to concede. But very good to see Elliot Osborne on his return to the side on the score sheet.
Yeah, well, I think Elliot's had a little bit of joy against Sam Johnson. He's a great keeper at this level. He's been a brilliant servant to Halifax, but I think he's had probably a couple of games to forget against us, and particularly against Elliot. I think he said he scored a hat-trick against him for Stockport County, so he's had a little bit of joy, and he's chanced his arm, and fortunately for Elliot, he's hit it well enough to trouble Sam, and it's gone in. So we'll take them types of goals all day.
I think half very happy with the performance. We fully deserved the lead, I think, at half-time. Halifax did respond in the second half and put us under an awful lot of pressure, and they were working their way into our final third much more effectively than they did in the first half.
Yeah, well, we set up with three midfielders, didn't we? So more of a flat 4-3-3 than a 4-2-3-1 that we would normally play. And it was done deliberately. One, to freshen things up. Two, we've just played them, and three, we're away from home. So we were just playing with a little bit more caution, wanting to control the game out of possession rather than in possession, because we knew they would change shape. They went to our shape, 4-2-3-1, and they've got to come and beat us, haven't they? So we were definitely a little bit more cautious, but we were in control of the first half, even though we didn't have all the ball. We ensured that they were going backwards and sideways, which we were quite comfortable dealing with. They had very few efforts on our goal, and we really didn't think that they would break us down. Unfortunately, a little bit of tiredness crept in, I felt, at the start of the second half. Particularly Elliot being one who hasn't played much on a heavy pitch, which didn't allow us to put the pressure on the ball we needed to, and then resulted in them getting an opportunity to score, which they took.
Once Halifax got the equaliser, you must have been pleased with the response from the players, because we absolutely tore into them.
Yeah, well, that's where we changed shape and a little bit of personnel, and I felt from that point on, was it about 25 minutes of an onslaught, so a little bit like the last game we played, and we come on ever so strong. We could have been negative and held on for a 1-1 draw. We didn't want that. We wanted to get the win, and I think we showed that intent. Unfortunately, like most teams, your Achilles heel is as soon as you score, you're vulnerable straight away, and we didn't set up quickly enough for the corner. Organisation, a little bit of leadership, but I think there was a little bit of fatigue there as well. And they've caught us cold from a set piece where we've not looked like conceding many from those types of opportunities of late.
Chris Clark has put us ahead again with a stunning strike. He's a very, very special player. And he lifted the ball so high over the wall. I think most of the fans in the stadium must have thought that was sailing well over the bar. And it certainly caught Sam Johnson by surprise.
Yeah, he's certainly got that knuckleball technique, hasn't he, where he can get the ball to go up and down, striking it with his laces. It's a technique he's obviously perfected over years. I'll be honest with you, I said to Chris he was lucky he was still on the pitch because he was quite poor during the first half, and then he really come into his own when we put him back into the middle. And I showed great belief in him and faith in him, and he repaid me back in abundance with the last 25 and his goal, and he's been superb since he's been here. And the first time I saw him was against Stockport County, and I saw a very talented young man with loads of potential, and we brought him in, we've persevered with him, we've got him to a certain level now, and I'd love to see him kick on from here and go again.
Halifax have equalised inside 2 minutes. We've defended really well throughout the 90 minutes, but we didn't defend that corner particularly well.
No, as I said, we were caught cold. We weren't set up correctly. We'd made substitutions. Maybe there was a lack of communication because they had as well, so different personnel picking up different players. But again, that comes from being switched on, getting into position a little bit earlier. And again, that leadership of knowing who are their main threats, who are their bigger players, and what areas of the 18-yard box, which is obviously between the goal, in between the 6-yard box and penalty spot, where we need to be locked tight to our men. We weren't, and we were caught, and we won't be the only team who gets caught out like that. It's happened to us, and it's a bitter pill to swallow when you've done so well to get back in the game and you've had more than enough chances to go on win it comfortably.
And I'm sure there was disappointment at the end of the game, but when you look at this as a result at the end of the season, a point at the Shea is a good result. 4 points against Halifax Town over Christmas and the New Year period is a good set of results. And there is a pattern emerging. We've had 4 or 5 games this season where we've probably been the better side away from home and probably deserved to take all 3 points. I'm thinking of Bromley, Boreham Wood, Woking, Southend, and I think New Year's Day was another one. And I think that's not a criticism. I think that bodes well for us because we're at a stage of our development now where we're able to take the game to national league clubs, big national league clubs on their own ground.
Absolutely, and we're able to do that because we've persevered and we've developed certain players and got players back on track, etc. So we are a force in this division when we've got our strongest team out. But we're always a couple of players from being injured or not being here for whatever reason, from not being able to do that as well. So at the moment, we're in a very strong position, but we're very aware that we're not the biggest squad in the world in terms of strength and depth, and we need to just make sure that we keep churning out them results whilst we've got these players at our disposal, because we all know we've got a certain amount of players on loan who potentially will go back at the end of this month or go on to bigger and better things. And we know we've got a lot of players who are in demand, particularly this time of year. So we've got to make sure whilst we've got these players at our disposal, we can get as many points as we can, and also have one eye on, if we need to bring people in, that they're the right players who are going to have that desired impact when they come through the door as well.
And next up, it's Bromley at home. And Bromley are one of those sides that they've probably never been a top 2 or 3 side, but they've always been in that sort of second group of teams since we've been back in the National League. And we've been a little bit behind them in the 2 seasons to date. But Saturday is a game when we're very much going into the game head to head with them. We can compete with the likes of Bromley, the Boreham Woods of this world, very, very effectively.
We certainly can. This is the platform full-time gives you in terms of the chance to work with these players, as I just said there, developing them, bringing them on, fine-tuning them. It's a game where we're going into it, and as you said there, we feel that we're in a good position where we can give them a real good game. And I felt we were unlucky at their place. I mean, it was freakish weather conditions that day, so I would be interested to see how we fare against them at this point as well. So it's an amazingly hot day, and maybe that's played its part. Bromley are a very good team. They're always in and around the playoffs. They always have good cup runs. They're very well managed. They're good at what they do, the shape that they play. I think they've changed it slightly since the last time we played them. It's a slightly different personnel that we'll have to adjust to. But as we always do, we'll play our game and we'll go for the win, and we'll make sure we're very aware of their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, it's an incredibly hot day back in August, 37 degrees from memory. And it was only our second game of the season, but we played really well that afternoon. And I'm sure that gave you a lot of confidence in terms of making those number of strides by that stage of the season, that we could go on and develop as the season has worn on. And that's proven to be the case, because we're going into 2023 in the top half of the National League table. And if you look back at 2022, we've had a good start to this season, and we finished last season with a really positive run after a difficult start to 2022. So if you look at 2022, January to December, very, very successful period for the football club, and real signs of progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things that this club's doing great. It's moving forward every season. It's doing the right things to keep guiding us towards where we would like to be, which is higher in this division than we've ever been before, and sort of dream to be in them playoffs. I know everybody's sort of got their eye on that, but I'm a realist about it. I know as well as we've done, as I said to you earlier on in the interview, I'm a realist. We get a few injuries, we lose a couple of players, it'll be really tough for us again, but not tough in terms of performances. It's just a really tough division, and if you have any weakness and you show any weakness, it's exploited massively. So we know that we've got to be very focused. We've got to be very focused on what we're doing. We've got to be very focused on the next game and getting maximum points every time we go on the pitch, and then we'll see where we end up at the end of the season.
I hear a lot of managers saying that the league is as strong as it's ever been, and these are managers who've got many, many seasons in the National League, and it does look that way. If you look at the part of the league table that we're in, if you go down from about fourth to halfway, just below halfway, there's only 3, 4, 5 points separating the sides. So there's very, very little between the vast majority of sides in this division. Yeah,
I think it will be as tight as it's ever been for the playoffs and the relegation spots as well. I don't think there's a great deal in it. Obviously, the top three look like they're head and shoulders above everybody else. But then the rest of the division is much of a muchness for me. Pretty much everyone's full time. Pretty much everyone's invested well in the summer. Everybody makes the right moves. You're not looking at many clubs thinking they're getting a lot wrong. So, every time, as I said to you, every time you go on that pitch, you show any element of weakness, any element of not preparing appropriately for your opposition, you get found out. And ultimately, the players have to be thoroughly motivated, very well trained, and they have to execute the instructions as well as possible, because if they don't, that's where you get found out massively.
And finally, Phil, what do you think of the possibilities for Altrincham Football Club in 2023 and within this season?
Well, I've been saying ever since we transitioned to full-time, it's not so much about the outcome this season. Obviously, everybody wants that. Everybody wants to know what points you're going to hit. Obviously, the aspirations is to achieve more points than we did last season, to finish higher than we did. The bit I've been selling to the players and everybody else whenever I get asked, this is the journey that we've been on. So the journey is about improving, getting the full-time model right, which I think everybody can see that the work that we're doing with the lads is showing its fruit, bearing its fruit now. But again, we're a work in progress. We will hit speed bumps, we'll get things wrong, but it's how quickly you can learn from that and adapt from that. So it's about the journey this year, and this journey's taken us on in a positive trajectory. Sorry, I put my teeth in and get my words right. But I'm really happy with the direction that we're going in. We just need to keep making the right decisions, keep taking positive steps, and who knows where it can take. If you have a bit of luck, anyone can dare to dream, but I just want to keep everybody's feet on the floor. As close as we are to the playoffs, there's pretty much 80% of the teams in this division thinking exactly the same as us, thinking that they can pinch a place in the playoffs. Staying in this division is first and foremost on my mindset, and that's not a negative mindset, it's a realist mindset. And if we keep picking up points, then we'll have a look a little bit closer to the end of the season. If we're anywhere near that top end of the table, then we'll push for that without a shadow of a doubt. But at the moment, it's a reality check. We've done ever so well. Let's remember, how many points we should have on the board, and we haven't because of different reasons. But listen, we like to think we've rectified a lot of them issues, but it's always going to be a struggle for us because we're not the big hitters in this division, but we get a lot right. And when you get a lot right, if you work really hard and everybody's on the same page, that's fans, that's volunteers, that's players, that's club staff, media people. Then we've all seen results at this football club. We've had championships, we've had playoffs, we've survived as part-time minnows in this division as part-time teams go. But look what we're doing now. We've took a big plunger going full-time. We're doing a lot of good things. We're playing a great brand of football that people enjoy to watch. We're entertaining. We're picking up results now. We're going up the league table, and that's what we want to keep doing.